Gretchen, and welcome back to my channel. As someone who puts out quite a bit of content on YouTube regarding piercings, oftentimes I'm asked questions about what someone should use on a piercing to clean it, proper aftercare, and even though I have tons of videos about it, I still get those questions. And something that I've seen come up a bit more recently is the LITHA method. I think that's how people pronounce it, the LITHA method. And so people ask me my opinion on it and what I think about it and if I've ever done it myself before. And because I don't actually use this method, I'm sitting there going like, what exactly is the LITHA method? But I decided to look into it a little bit, and that is what today's video is about, the LITHA method. As you can tell, I am one of those people that has never tried this form of caring for a piercing before. Usually when I care for a brand new piercing, it's with that saline solution that we all have come to know and understand, and I've never gone this route. But it's an interesting one, and I kind of want to try it whenever I get a new piercing. So what exactly is the LITHA method? LITHA stands for Leave It the Hell Alone. Yep, that is what that is short for. Leave it the hell alone. It's pretty much as it says. You leave your piercing alone. You don't really do anything to it. This means you're not touching it, you're not moving it, you're not fiddling with it, you're not trying to get a good look at it, you're just leaving it be. Now, many people use this method quite literally, meaning they don't do anything to their piercing, whereas some people just kind of use it as a basis. For the most part, they don't do anything to it, but then they might do a little bit of aftercare just here and there. And what I mean by some people use it loosely or as a basis, I mean that they don't necessarily not touch it. It's more of a every so often they may spray some saline solution on it or let water hit it in the shower and kind of flush things away. But for the most part, this method means don't do anything to it and let the piercing just be. So now this method got me pretty interested, mostly because every single time I've gotten a piercing, piercers always tell me to use the whole saline solution thing, cleaning it twice a day and then leaving it alone. But this method basically is saying don't do anything. Can't reiterate that enough. It's just don't do anything, meaning also no saline solution. So of course I'm sitting there going like, well then how can you clean it? How can you make sure that it's receiving the proper aftercare? But something to remember about the whole saline solution cleaning method is that sometimes we overdo it and we don't do it correctly, which further irritates a piercing and leads to prolonging the healing process. So maybe there's something to be said about leaving the piercing the hell alone. Now, before you decide to try the LITHA method yourself on your next piercing, something to keep in mind is that everyone experiences a different piercing journey. What's gonna work for one person may not work for you. So the best thing you can do is know and understand what works best for you. If you have found something to work for you in the past, maybe it's best to just go that route. Again, the LITHA method, it seems like has worked for a lot of people, but also may not work for others. The best thing you can do is follow any guidelines your professional piercer has given you. If they tell you to clean with a saline solution, it's probably best to listen to them. The LITHA method may seem pretty intense, but again, oftentimes a lot of the irritation that we experience with our piercings comes from improper aftercare, aka over cleaning, overdoing it with our piercings. A lot of times people don't do correct measurements. Like if you're making your own saline solution, a lot of times people aren't using the correct ingredients and they're not doing the correct measurements on how to clean. Non-iodized sea salt, 8 ounces of distilled or bottled water, not tap water, 1/8 to 1/4 of a teaspoon of non-iodized sea salt, and you mix that together and that is your correct measurement. But a lot of people will go over that 1/4 of a teaspoon max, or people will use tap water. And although our bodies are accustomed to drinking tap water, putting tap water, which may have some kind of bacteria in it, on our brand new piercings can further irritate it. So again, that's why I often recommend just getting the pre-made, because it's already done for you. You don't have to think about it. You just spray and go. You know, sometimes we may even use harsh chemicals or products on our piercings that are not intended for that specific purpose. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say that they've used hydrogen peroxide on their piercings, which that alone just makes me feel very sick, because I don't know about y'all, but when I was a kiddo and would fall off my bike and scrape my knee and hydrogen peroxide went right on that wasn't a fun experience. Not imagine that for a piercing. So there's something to be said for the LITHA method, just letting the piercing do its thing. You know, you can check on your piercing if you're gonna use this method. You can make sure that everything is kind of going as it should. If you notice anything questionable pop up, at that point you can determine whether or not you want to continue to leave it alone, or if you think that saline solution would help it. But this doesn't mean that you just neglect it. It just means you just leave it be. And something else that you can do to make the LITHA method work for you is to make sure that you keep those irritants down. So for example, if you're a side sleeper and you get a brand new conch piercing on your right ear, make sure you're sleeping on your left side. But then the question comes up, what about crusties? No one wants to deal with crusties. Everyone's like, oh God, this isn't good. Actually, crusties are not bad. In case you don't know, crusties are made up of lymphatic fluid that your body is basically pushing out. It helps clear out the piercing site. It also forms kind of a barrier around your piercing so that bacteria can't get into it. So when you see crusties, they're not necessarily a bad thing. That's your body just trying to make sure that that puncture wound heals as it should. Now, if you're doing the LITHA method and you do want to get rid of the crusties, there are a few things that you can do so that you still follow the guidelines. One is when you're in the shower, let the water just run over them. If the crusties are loose enough to kind of fall away, they'll do that. But if you notice that they're not falling away, then don't force it, because forcing the crusties to fall away will actually further irritate the piercing because it's clinging on. And if you basically wash them away before they're ready to go, it leaves behind like little abrasions, and that can irritate your piercing. So if you're not a huge fan of the crusties and you want to get rid of them, but you want to stick with the leave it the hell alone method, one route that you can do is just let the water in the shower basically flush it away. Again, this method isn't gonna work for everyone. I personally am intrigued by it and kind of wanna try it out on a piercing, but this is not me saying, hey, go try this out for yourself. If you just don't feel comfortable with that method, by all means, continue with what you were doing. Continue with your saline solution, nothing more than that. You don't wanna use harsh chemicals or products on a brand new piercing or any piercing in general. Everyone's piercing journey is different, so what works for you may not work for me, and what works for me may not work for you. Do what you're comfortable with, go with what your piercer recommends, do your own research, and know your body and what works. So I'm curious, how many of you have actually tried the LITHA method before? How many of you have left it the hell alone? Again, I've never done it myself. I've always gone the saline solution route, but I am very intrigued by it just to see how different it could be. And if you've tried the LITHA method before, which one do you prefer if you've tried both? You know, the normal saline solution route or this route. Which one do you prefer? Leave them in the comments below. Special thank you to my patrons. You can help support the channel on Patreon while having access to videos early, viewing patron-only content, and more. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to go down there and hit that subscribe button, as well as that notification bell, so YouTube will let you know when I upload next. But until next time, bye y'all!